Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. वैष्णव अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. So last week we had a session filled with watching a whole episode of Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita through Abhay Charan. Yes. And this week we are continuing a reading. We did a little bit of reading, but we had gone back to the strawberry and certain accounts narrated by the devotees themselves who had the opportunity of spending time with Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So we came across how people were, or the devotees there were a little more lenient in their regulations that they were committed to follow, and there were a lot of mingling of Matajis and Prabhus, especially. So, Srila Prabhupada's only solution to this, it's not an issue, but still it's an issue. According to Vedic culture, men and women do not mingle so much, but it was so embedded into the American society, nothing could be done specifically to separate them. So Srila Prabhupada's only solution was to get those who were in a relationship to get them married. And Srila Prabhupada conducted one marriage ceremony there. And here, before one of the immediate marriage ceremonies that he conducted was of Bonnie and her boyfriend Gary McElroy. And they both had come from San Francisco, Austin. Now, Gary was the son of a US Air Force officer, and was a much more, she was fair and blonde, who Bonnie. And she was born and raised in Texas in a Baptist family. Both had tried to engage in self-styled Hatha Yoga meditation. Then they felt that they were becoming degraded from drugs. So they had read that when the disciple is ready, the guru will appear. So they were eagerly waiting for their guru to come. And that's when they had come across the Back to Head magazine. That was produced by Srila Prabhupada's disciples in New York. And just a small recap, if you can remember, how how keenly a set of some 11, 12 devotees were standing in an assembly line. Hare Krishna. Yes, in an assembly
Please
line,
continue. Please continue.
print out the first copy of Back to Godhead magazine. And Srila Prabhupada was very proud of the output. So this magazine was found in San Francisco, which Bonnie came across. And they were attracted to Hayagriva Prabhu's writing about Swamiji. And so they were waiting to meet. And Bonnie was the one who found out the temple on Frederick Street. So they immediately went to meet Swamiji, and they expressed how what all the difficulties they were facing. So on meeting Srila Prabhupada in his room, they began to express everything. They just started blurting out. And Srila Prabhupada, when Bonnie is saying that Srila Prabhupada was sitting on a rocking chair and it looked like he thought both she and her boyfriend were crazy telling all these things out. But all that Srila Prabhupada said is simply come for my everyday morning and evening classes and everything will be all right. So, huh. And this Barney said that I've traveled all over Europe. So Srila Prabhupada was surprised, like, oh, you have done so much of traveling. And then the girl said, I've traveled so much, but I couldn't find anything that made me happy. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, that is the problem. And they, uh, just because Srila Prabhupada said, they took it to themselves to strictly attend every morning program. And it was long distance for them, to come and arrive at 7 o'clock in the morning. But still, they did it. Mm. Now, Srila Prabhupada asked them to get initiated, and they got initiated. Joe and Roger, another couple who were Janaki Mataji's sister and her boyfriend. They got initiated and they received the names Yamuna and Guru Das. And their wedding ceremony was conducted by Srila Prabhupada. That's when where Srila Prabhupada explained the meaning of Krishna conscious marriage and how husband and wife should assist one another to serve Krishna, keeping him in the center. Hmm? So he requested Yamuna Mataji to come in a sari because he didn't like the way the Western women dressed. So then we went ahead and read. And Bonnie and Gary got initiated and they were named Govinda Dasi and Gaur Sundara. And as soon as that happened, they took their initiation very seriously and they started becoming following strictly. They were eating only offered food from then. And 2 weeks after their initiation, their marriage ceremony was conducted. Bonnie's parents had come. Govinda Dasi's parents had come from Texas, and he didn't understand this radical, conversion or whatever they were telling. And when walking up to Srila Prabhupada's seat, the father asked, "Why did you have to change my daughter's name? Why does it have to be an Indian name?" That was all that he was offended about. But Srila Prabhupada just had a mischievous smile and he said, there was a guest named Mr. Patel. He said, "You don't like Indians?" So everyone heard and laughed because the father said, "Yeah, they are all right, but why does Bonnie have to have a different name?" Because she asked me to give her one. Why do you object? If you like your daughter, and then accept what she likes. No, she wanted that name, and why does it have to be a problem? But anyways, he enjoyed taking prasadam along with his daughter and son-in-law. And Govinda Dasi, because they were studying how to paint, and that's what they were art students at the college. So Srila Prabhupada asked them to paint for Srimad Bhagavatam. And I would paint Gaur Sundara would read aloud from Srimad Bhagavatam, one volume after the other. This is what they mainly did for 2 months continuously. Husband would read and wife would paint. Sometimes Swamiji would ask to do a portrait. Once Srila Prabhupada asked Govinda Dasi Mataji to draw a painting, portrait of him standing before a background painting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing. And he wanted it such a way that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet would be touching his head. And it was horrible according to Mataji, but Prabhupada was happy with it. That is where we stopped. Uh, Recap. Where am I? Yes, here. Reduce the. I hope you can see the screen. I don't know where did that happen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
you. Suddenly it went all the way to the top. Where is this? Okay, so here we are. Right here. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, chapter 1 itself, entitled Swamiji Invites the Hippies, volume 3. And as you can see on screen, we are reading part 1, chapter 22. Prabhupada's thoughtful followers, excuse me, Prabhupada's thoughtful followers felt that some of the candidates for initiation did not intend to fulfill the exclusive lifelong commitment as a disciple owes to his guru. Swamiji, they would say, some of these people come only for their initiation. We have never seen them before, never seen them after again. But Srila Prabhupada replied that it was the risk that he had to take. One day in a lecture, one day in a lecture, he explained that although the reactions for a disciple's past sins are removed at initiation, the spiritual master remains responsible until the disciple is delivered from the material world. Therefore, he said, Lord Chaitanya warned that a guru should not accept many disciples. One night in the temple during the question and answer session, a big bearded fellow raised his hand and asked Prabhupada, Can I become initiated? The brash public request annoyed some of Prabhupada's followers, but Prabhupada was sincere. Yes, he replied. But first you must answer me two questions. Who is Krishna? The boy thought and said, Krishna is God. Yes, Prabhupada replied. And who are you? Again the boy thought for a few moments and replied, I am the servant of God. Very good. Yes, you can be initiated tomorrow. As you can see, there is a contrast. Again, this we can see even Kirtanan Prabhu says a bit later that how there was a contrast or a bit of difference in the way the disciples uh, in their commitment or their lifestyle even difference between disciples in San Francisco and New York. uh, Here San Francisco, they were much more lenient and they were not strict followers. They would do what they want and still be initiated, and this was a thing, and that they were not appreciating as much. But like Prabhupada said, it was a risk that he had to take. So much so that the very Prabhu who invited Srila Prabhupada, and who is that? Who invited Srila Prabhupada to San Francisco? Can anyone remember his name?
Mukunda Goswami.
Yes, Mukunda Prabhu himself, it is mentioned that he found it joyful to assist Srila Prabhupada, but he never committed himself to anything else. He would play some music because he was a musician. All he was joyful about was to help Srila Prabhupada in a way to talk about him and talk about Krishna consciousness. Yes, he was indirectly serving his spiritual master that way, but initially he was not, truly committed to the vows and rules and regulations as one thought one should be doing when they would be taking their diksha. But that was the sort of mindset. So much so that many of them didn't have any idea. Even in the New York disciples, some of them didn't have any mantras that they knew very well. They were learning all that only later, after getting initiated. But this is all new, and Srila Prabhupada was slowly building a family, a Krishna conscious family, and there were a lot of contrasts and controversies, yet Srila Prabhupada knew exactly what he had to do. Srila Prabhupada knew that it would be difficult for his Western disciples to stick to Krishna consciousness and attain the goal of pure devotional service. All their lives they had the worst training, and despite their normal Christianity and philosophical searching, most of them knew nothing of the science of God. They did not even know that illicit sex and meat eating were wrong. Although, when he told them, they accepted what he said and they freely chanted Hare Krishna. So, how could he refuse them? Srila Prabhupada accepted them because they were accepting him. Of all the people in the whole world at that point, not even Indians were willing to completely, truly accept even though they knew God and they had some bit of Vedic understanding, or even leave understanding some capacity to understand the signs of God, they never accepted Prabhupada as he is. But these young boys and girls, who had the worst training, as Maharaj says, they were willing to accept him. Why would Srila Prabhupada give up on them or never, take their hand? Of course, whether they would be able to persevere in Krishna consciousness despite their ever present attractions of Maya would be seen in time. Some would fall. That was the human tendency. Some would not. At least those who sincerely followed his instructions to chant Hare Krishna and avoid sinful activities would be successful. He gave the example that a person could say that today's fresh food, if not properly used, would spoil in a few days. But if it is fresh now, to say that in the future it will be misused, therefore spoil, is only a some surmise. Yes, in the future anyone could fall down, but Prabhupada took it as his responsibility to engage his disciples now. And he was giving them the methods which is followed, which, if followed, would protect them from ever falling down. Srila Prabhupada had the foolproof plan. All we had to do was follow it. Aside from Vedic standards, even by the standard of Swamiji's New York disciples, the devotees in San Francisco were not very strict. Some continued going to the donut shop, eating food without offering to Krishna, and eating forbidden things like chocolate and commercial ice cream. Even some indulged in after kirtan cigarette breaks right outside the temple door. Some got initiated without knowing precisely what they had agreed to practice. Kirtanananda. The mood in San Francisco was a lot more relaxed. The devotees like to go to the corner and have their coffee and donuts, but Prabhupada loved the way so many people were coming. And he loved that the program at the Avalon Ballroom. But there were two sides, those who strictly followed the rules and regulations and emphasized purity, and those who were not so concerned about strictness but who wanted to spread Krishna consciousness as widely as possible. Swamiji was so great that he embraced both groups. So the intention of the two groups were, though the intentions were two distinct ones, but both were positive for Krishna consciousness and Srila Prabhupada, and so he accepted both the groups. Michael Wright, 21, had recently gotten out of the Marine Corps, and Nancy Grindle, 18, was fresh out of high school. They had met in college in Los Angeles. Feeling frustrated and in need of something tangible to dedicate their lives, they had come to San Francisco to join the hippies, but soon realized that they and the Haight Ashbury hippies, whom they found dirty, aimless, unproductive, and lost in their search for identity, had little in common. So Nancy took up a job as a secretary for the telephone company, and Michael found work as a lineman for the electric company. Then they had heard about the Swami in Haight Ashbury and decided to visit the temple. It was an evening kirtan, and the irrepressible hippies were twirling, twisting, and wiggling. Michael and Nancy took a seat on the floor off to one side, impressed more by the presence of the Swami than by the kirtan. After the kirtan, Prabhupada lectured and they found his accent heavy. They wanted to understand. They had an innate feeling that he was saying something valuable, yet the secret seemed locked behind a thick accent within a book written in another language. They decided to come back in the morning and try again. At the morning program, they found a smaller group, a dozen devotees with beads for chanting draped around their necks, and a few street people. The kirtan seemed sweeter and more mellow, and Michael and Nancy chanted and danced along with the devotees. Then Prabhupada spoke, and this time they caught a few of his ideas. They stayed for breakfast and became friends with Mukunda and Janaki, Sam and Marjorie, now Shamsundra and Malati, Yamuna and Guru Dasa, Govinda Dasi and Gaur Sundara. They liked the devotees and promised to come again in the evening. Soon they were regularly attending the morning and evening programs, and Nancy, along with the other women, were attending Prabhupada's weekend cooking classes. How fortunate they are to receive direct cooking classes from Srila Prabhupada. Michael was open to Prabhupada's ideas, but he had difficulty accepting the necessity of surrendering to a spiritual authority. His tendency was to reject authorities. But the more he thought about it, the more he saw that Prabhupada was right, he had to accept an authority. He reasoned, every time I stop at a red light, I'm accepting an authority. And finally, he concluded that to progress in spiritual understanding, he would have to accept a spiritual authority. Yet, because he didn't want to accept it, he was in a dilemma. Finally, after Prabhupada's lectures for 2 weeks, Michael decided to surrender to Prabhupada's authority and try to become Krishna conscious. Nancy and I decided to get married and become Swamiji's disciples, Michael Prabhu is saying, and members of his society. We told some of the devotees we would like to see Swamiji. They said, yes, just go up. He's on the third floor. We were a little surprised that there were no formalities required. And when we got to the door, his servant Ranachor let us in. We went in with our shoes on, so Ranachor had asked us to take them off. I didn't know exactly what to say to Swamiji. I was depending on my future wife to make the initial opening, but then I finally said, we came because we would like to become members of your Krishna Conscious Society. He said, this was very nice. Then I said that actually the main reason we were there was we wanted to be married. We knew that he performed marriage ceremonies, and this was a part of the society's requirements that couples had to be duly married before they could live together. Swamiji asked me if I liked the philosophy and if I had a job. My answer to both the questions was yes. He explained that first of all, we would have to be initiated, and then we could be married the next month. And at their initiation, Michael received the name Dayananda. Nancy received the name Nandarani. Soon Prabhupada performed their marriage. Nandarani. We knew it would be a very big wedding. In Hyde, Ashbury, whenever Swamiji would perform a wedding, hundreds of people would come and the temple would be filled. My parents were coming and Dayananda's parents were coming also. Swamiji said it was proper that I cook. He said I should come to his apartment on the morning of the wedding and he would help me cook something for the wedding feast. So that morning I put on my best jeans and best sweatshirt and my boots and went off to see to Swamiji's apartment. When I got upstairs, I walked in with my boots on. Swamiji was sitting in his rock chair. He smiled and said, "Oh, you have come to cook?" I said, "Yes." He sat there and looked at me, one of those long silent stares. He said, "First take off your boots." After I took off my boots and my old leather jacket, he got up and went into the kitchen. He got a very large pot that had been buried so thick on the bottom that practically there was no, I mean, it had that had been burned so thick in the bottom that it practically there was no metal visible. He handed it to me and said, "We want to boil milk in this pot. It has to be washed." There wasn't a sink in Swamiji's kitchen, only a teeny round basin. So I went into inside the bathroom, put the pot in the bathtub and rinsed it out. I assume Swamiji didn't want the black off the bottom because it was so burnt. So I brought it back and he said, "Oh, this is very clean, but just take off this little black on the bottom here." I said okay and got a knife, crawled into the bathtub and started scrubbing the black off. I worked and worked and worked and I scrubbed and I scrubbed. I had cleanser up my elbows and I made a mess everywhere. I had gotten about half the black off. The rest seemed to be more or less an integral part of the bottom. So I took the pot back to Swamiji and he said, "This is the best I can do. All of this is burned on." He said, "Yes, yes, you have done a wonderful job. Now just take off this black that's left." On the day of her wedding. So I went back into the bathtub and scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. It was almost midday when I came out of the bathtub and all the black scrubbed off the bottom of that pot. He was so happy when I brought the pot in. It was sparkling. A big smile came on his face and he said, "Oh, this is perfect." I was exhausted. Then Swamiji welcomed me into his kitchen and taught me how to make rasgullas. We boiled the milk, curdled it, and then I sat down and began rolling the curd into balls on a tray. As I rolled the balls, I would put in a little row along the tray, and every single ball had to be exactly the same size. Swamiji would make his thumb and fist and first and second fingers and shoot the balls out of the row when they weren't when they were in the right size, and I would have to remake them until they were the right size. This went on until I had a full tray of balls, all the same size. Then Swamiji showed me how to boil the balls of curd in sugar water. Malati, Janaki, and I were cooking in the kitchen, and then Swamiji was singing. At one point, Swamiji stopped singing and asked me, "Do you know what your name means?" I couldn't even remember what my name was. He told me at initiation, but because none of us are used our devotee names, I couldn't remember what was mine. He said, "No, Swamiji, what does my name mean?" He said, "It means you are the mother of Krishna." And he laughed loudly and went back to stirring rasgullas. I couldn't understand who was Krishna, who Krishna was, who in the world his mother would be, or how I was in any way related to her. But I was satisfied that Swamiji felt that I was somebody worth being. One second. I finished cooking that afternoon about 4 o'clock, and then I went home to get dressed for the wedding. Although I had never worn anything but old dresses and jeans, Swamiji had suggested to the other ladies that they find a way to put me into a sari for the wedding. So we brought a piece of silk to use for a sari. I went to Malati's house. She was going to try to help me put it on. I couldn't keep it on. She had to sew it on me. Then they decorated me with flowers and took me to Swamiji and showed him. He was very happy. He said, "This is the way our women should always look. No more jeans and dresses. They should always wear saris." Actually, I looked a fright. I kept stumbling and they had to sew the cloth on me. But Swamiji thought it was wonderful. The cloth was all one color. So Swamiji said, "Next time you should buy cloth that has a little border on the bottom. So it is two colors. I like two colors better." When we went downstairs to the wedding, Swamiji met my relatives. He spoke to them very politely. My mother cried a lot during the ceremony. I was very satisfied that she had been blessed by meeting Swamiji. Steve Bolett, age 21, born and raised in New York and now living the hippie life in San Francisco, had read in the Oracle about Swami Bhaktivedanta's coming to San Francisco. The idea of meeting an Indian Swami had interested him and responded to a notice he had seen posted on Hyde Street. He had gone along with Carolyn Gold, the woman he was living with, to the airport to meet Swami Bhaktivedanta. He and Carolyn had both gotten a blissful lift by chanting Hare Krishna and saying Prabhupada, and they had began regularly attending the lectures and kirtans at the temple. Steve decided he wanted to become like this Swami, so he and Carolyn went together to see Prabhupada and request initiation. Speaking privately with Prabhupada in his room, they discussed obedience to the spiritual master and becoming vegetarian. When Prabhupada told them they should either stop living together or get married, they said they would like to get married, and an initiation date was set. Prabhupada asked Steve to shave his long hair and beard. "Why would you want me to shave my head?" protested Steve. "Krishna had long hair, Rama had long hair, Chaitanya had long hair, Lord Chaitanya had long hair, Christ had long hair. Why should I shave my head?" Prabhupada smiled and replied, "Because now you're following me." This was a print on the wall of Suradasa, a Vaishnava. You should shave your head like that. Prabhupada pointed to Suradas. "I don't think I'm ready to do that yet." He said, "All right, you're still a young man, there is still time, but at least you should shave your face clean and cut your hair like a man." On the morning of initiation, Steve shaved off his beard and cut his hair around his ears so that it was short in the front but long at the back. "How is this?" "You should cut the back also," Prabhupada replied. Steve agreed. To Steve, Prabhupada had given the name Subala and to Carolyn the name Krishna Devi. A few days later, he performed their wedding. Since each ceremony was another occasion for kirtan and prasadam distribution, onlookers became attracted. And as the spiritual names in married couples increased with each ceremony, Prabhupada's spiritual family grew. The harmonious atmosphere was like that of a small, loving family, and Prabhupada dealt with his disciples intimately without the formalities of an institution or hierarchy. Disciples would approach him for various reasons, entering the little apartment to be alone with him as he sat on a mat before his makeshift desk in the morning sunlight. He met with men like Mukunda, Gurudasa, and Shamsundara. Swamiji was a friend. With Janaki and Govindadasi, he was sometimes ready to be chided, almost like they are not his son, or he would be their grandfatherly teaching cooking. Grandfatherly teacher of cooking, the enforcer of the rules of kitchen cleanliness, and to all of them, he was the unfathomable pure devotee of Lord Krishna who knew the conclusions of all the Vedic scriptures and who knew beyond all doubts the truth of transmigration. He could answer all questions. He could lead them beyond material life, beyond height Ashbury, hippydom, and into the spiritual world with Krishna. Shall I continue or shall we just discuss? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I think devotee should respond. We have 15 minutes.
You can continue it. The music.
Okay, Prabhu. 1 second. I just need a
Or you
shot.
can, sing your words.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, now I'll have to ask some other devotees to vote on this. Either we shall continue reading or we can do some more kirtan. Hare Krishna. Oh, would anyone else like to suggest something? Okay, we will read some more and then we will do a little bit more kirtan.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna. It was 7 p.m. Srila Prabhupada entered the temple dressed in a saffron dhoti, an old turtleneck jersey under a cardigan sweater, and a chadara around his shoulders. Walking to the dais in the rear of the room, he took a seat. This dais, a cushioned atop a red wood plank 2 feet off the floor, was supported between two redwood columns. The front of the dais stood on in the front of the dais stood a cloth-covered lectern with a bucket of cut flowers on either side. Covering the wall behind the dais was a typical Indian madras, with Haridasa's crude painting of Lord Chaitanya in Kirtana hanging against it. Okay, if that is the description, we have to find it out. 1 second. It should be something. This is the storefront. These are the devotees. No, we do not have picture of, but we have one picture of the storefront. I think this comes later on because the deities have appeared. So no, we don't have pictures. Srila Prabhupada picked his kartals, wrapped the cloth straps around his forefingers, and looked out at his young followers sitting cross-legged on the burgundy rug. The men were bearded, and almost everyone wore long hair, beads, exotic clothing, and trinkets. The bulbs hanging from the ceiling diffused their light through Japanese paper lanterns, and Navajo God's eye symbols dangled from strings. Prabhupada began the ringing 1 2 3 rhythm, and Shamsundara began pumping the harmonium. Although the harmonium was a simple instrument, a miniature piano keyboard to be played with the right hand and a bellows to be pumped with the left hand, no one in the Frederick Street knew how to play it, so it simply became the drone. Another important Kirtana instrument, the two-headed mridanga from India, was meant for intricate rhythmic accompaniments, but even Mukunda could play it only very simple, matching the 2 1 2 3 of Prabhupada's Kartal. So if you can remember, Mukunda Prabhu asked if Prabhupada can teach him how to play the mridanga, and Prabhupada uh, started teaching him instantly. All that Prabhupada majorly said was to go slow. We had read the description of the mantra that Srila Prabhupada was asking him to repeat as he played the instrument. There were other instruments on hand, a kettle drum, the pride of the temple, Hayagriva's old cornet, a few conch shells, and a horn Hayagriva had made by shell-lacking a piece of kelp he had found on the beach. A horn. Some guests had brought their own flutes, pipes, and bongos, but for now they let their instruments remain still and clapped to Prabhupada's rhythm as he sang the evening prayers. Prabhupada's Sanskrit hymn praised the Vaishnava spiritual masters. For each great devotee in the disciplic succession, he had a specific prayer. First chanted the poetic description of the transcendental qualities of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, then Bhakti Vinod Thakura, one after another. One prayer described Srila Bhakti Siddhanta as the deliverer of the fallen souls, and another praised Gaur Kishore Das Babaji as a renunciation personified. Sakshad Vairagya Murteye. Always merged in the feeling of separation. Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujaya Te Namaha. Always merged in the feeling of separation and intense love for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada sang of Lord Chaitanya, the golden complexion, supreme personality of Godhead who distributed love for Krishna. And he sang of Lord Krishna, the ocean of mercy, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandho Jagatpate, the friend of the distressed, the source of creation. As Prabhupada became absorbed in the bhajan, his body trembled in ecstatic emotion. The group on the floor started swaying from side to side, watching him. His eyes closed in meditation, his delicate, practiced fingers expertly playing the cymbals. They heard the heartfelt minor moods and tones of his voice, unlike anything they had heard before. Then he began the familiar mantra they had come to hear. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And immediately they joined him. The horns, the drums sounded, and as soon all the other instrument players also joined. Gradually, a few at a time, members of the audience rose to their feet and began to dance. Prabhupada's followers stood and began stepping from side to side as he had shown them, sometimes raising their hands in the air. Others moved as they pleased, occasionally opening his eyes and glancing around. Prabhupada sat firmly, chanting through his head, though his head and body were trembling. After 20 minutes, many of the young dancers were leaping, jumping, and perspiring as Prabhupada continued to sing, leading the dancers by the beat of his kartals. His eyes were closed, yet he controlled the entire wild congregation, playing his kartals loudly. The chanting and dancing continued, and Prabhupada approved. The kirtan of the hippies was different from the chanting of Indian brahmanas, but Prabhupada didn't mind. His standard was devotion. In his Radha Krishna temple, whatever he accepted, Krishna accepted. This was his offering to Krishna through his spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada was absolutely confident. Even if his young devotees didn't know how to play the harmonium keyboard or the mridanga, even if they didn't know that congregational kirtana should be done not in constant unison as they were doing, but responsively, even if they didn't know how to honor the Guru, still they were chanting and dancing. He encouraged them and nodded to them, yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vaishnava Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. We have a couple of minutes, so as per Prabhu's request, I shall sing something.
Which Prabhu requested?
Narayanan Prabhu.
Hari Hari. Okay. Thank you. Thank
Prabhu,
you.
but do you have something in mind, or we can just sing Harinam?
Whatever comes from your lotus mouth.
जय जय राधे जय जय श्याम जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम जय जय राधे जय जय श्याम जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम पावन राधे तेरो नाम पावन श्री वृंदावन धाम पावन राधे तेरो नाम पावन श्री वृंदावन धाम जय जय श्यामा जय जय श्यामा जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम जय जय श्यामा जय जय श्यामा जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम पावन राधे तेरो नाम पावन श्री वृंदावन धाम पावन राधे तेरो नाम पावन श्री वृंदावन धाम जय जय राधे जय जय श्याम जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम जय जय राधे जय जय श्याम जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम पावन राधे तेरो नाम पावन श्री वृंदावन धाम जय जय श्यामा जय जय श्याम जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम जय जय श्यामा जय जय श्याम जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम पावन राधे तेरो नाम पावन श्री वृंदावन धाम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद
Nice.
Jai
Nice.
Gaura Hari
Wonderful.
Bol, Hare
Wonderful.
Krishna. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Divine. Absolute. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Right.
Prabhu.
Right.
So, I've heard Deenabandhu Prabhu and so many other devotees sing the first one. That is Jai Jai Radhe, Jai Jai Sham, Jai Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham, Pavana Radhe, Tero Nam, Pavan Shri Vrindavan Dham. All glories and victories to Radha, all glories and victories to Sham, Krishna, who is of dark complexion. Sing out and praise their beautiful and holy Dham, Shri Vrindavan. Jai Radhe, Hey Radhe, your name is pure and holy is your beautiful Vrindavan. But the second line, the second stanza is Jai Jai Shyama, Jai Jai Shyam. Shyama again is Radharani, Shyama, a glowing young girl. And of course, Shyam is Shyam, the who is of dark complexion. So that's how we have two stanzas. Shyama and Shyam, Radha and Shyam. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shravanti Mataji. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, Mataji. Dandavat pranam, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So, any comments, questions, anything else to share? Please go ahead. Thank you all for joining.
Whenever you say Mukunda Goswami, here you said Prabhupada taught Mridanga to Mukunda Goswami. Whenever you say that, I remember what he wrote on the last paragraph of Science of Self-Realization. What all he taught. We read that, remember?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, amazing. So Prabhupada was for everything. He was saying he taught us music, cleanliness, cooking, art, dance, painting, and he's saying even common sense.
Finally, common sense.
Yeah. So
No
Prabhupada
matter what you are expert at, if you don't have that, it's a little hard to function.
Yeah.
Yes.
So amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kamala Magi.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Bhajana Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Makarakataruvyasya kripasindhubhyaya vacha patitanam pavane
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Mahanantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai.
Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Narayan Prabhu.
Hare.
Yeah.
We'll end the session. Hare Krishna.
Yes, we can end the session. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for joining. Hare Krishna to all for joining. See you all next week.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.